Good morning, honorable members of the Assembly Budget Committee. My name is John Mulholland, and I serve as the Executive Director of the New Jersey Association of Special Education Partner Schools, or NJASEPS for short. Our member schools educate some of the most complex, vulnerable, and remarkable students in the state. These are young people whose needs cannot be met in the traditional public school setting, not because they lack potential, but because their needs are extraordinary. That word matters. Extraordinary. Extraordinary special education aid exists because some students require a level of support that goes far beyond what any single district can reasonably absorb. These are not marginal cost differences. These are intensive individualized programs involving specialized staff, therapies, and environments designed to help students access an education that most of us frankly take for granted. On behalf of our member schools, the nearly 10,000 public school students that they serve, and the districts that rely on a functioning system, I respectfully urge you to fully fund extraordinary special education aid. The policy logic here is straightforward. When the cost of educating a student exceed a certain threshold, the state shares that responsibility, not as charity, as a recognition that public education is a shared obligation and that equity sometimes requires disproportionate investment. But that logic only holds if the aid is fully funded. When extraordinary aid is underfunded, the burden does not disappear. It shifts. It shifts on the local districts, on the property taxpayers, and onto the stability of the programs that serve students with the highest needs. And when that pressure builds, it creates incentives that are misaligned with the best interest of all public school students in the state of New Jersey. We often talk about special education in moral terms, and rightly so, but there is also a structural truth that deserves equal attention. A system that promises individualized education but does not fully fund the mechanisms that make it possible is a broken system. Fully funding extraordinary special education is how the state keeps its promise, not just in principle, but in practice. It ensures that decisions about students are driven by need, not constrained by shortfall. It reinforces a system that, while complex, reflects a genuine commitment to equity. It is sometimes assumed that these costs are outliers, exceptions that can be managed at the margins. But for the families living this reality, there is nothing marginal about it. This is their child's entire educational experience. And for the system, these are not anomalies. They are a predictable and necessary part of serving a diverse student population. The question before you is not whether these costs exist. They do. The question is whether the state will meet them fully or allow the strain to be absorbed elsewhere. Thank you for your time and your continued commitment to New Jersey students.
Any questions? Assemblyman Spearman.
Just a quick question. Has the funding for this been cut already in the budget?
It has been flat funded for the last 5 years. So okay. As extraordinary or as special education costs continue to increase, both the number of students who need those services, but also the cost of providing them, it's effectively been a significant cut to the public school district.
So I guess I had stepped out. What is your request? You want to increase it by a certain amount? How much?
So I respect that this is a difficult budget year and it's a hard job on this committee. You couldn't get to full funding in 1 year. I mean, to fully fund last year's receipts would be $785 million, but any increase from $420 million would make a difference because every extra dollar would be less pressure on your public school districts.
Okay, thank you.
Assemblyman Chenal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. John, a quick question. Based on your executive summary that you just gave us, we've been flat funded for the last 5 years.
Yes.
Now the total cost, based on your numbers, is $785 million.
Yes.
Which is a $365 million discrepancy. Who covers that cost currently?
The school districts themselves have
property taxes.
Right. So it ultimately goes back to the property taxpayers, or it's done by cutting other vital programs. It's done by increasing class sizes, cutting extracurricular activities. So there's a cost to be paid regardless, but it generally means tax increases and service cuts.
All right, thank you.
That's okay. Thank you. John, thank you. And as you know, we've worked together, not only you and my chief of staff, but in this role, particularly with folks with disabilities. I think a lot of us get the idea of the need that you have, and it is huge, right? I've been to your school, I've seen it. Has your enrollment increased over the last, let's say, couple years? Because I do know that your staff has increased, and the need for staff is paramount with people with disabilities. Has your enrollment for school educational increased?
So that's a great question. Thank you, Assemblywoman. We're in an unusual circumstance where our schools can't always take all the referrals that are coming to them. So in short, the answer is yes, but there's an unmet need for students right now in the state. There's a worrying concern at the number of students who are now in at-home instruction because we can't get them the resources either in the traditional public school district, at another public school system district, or a county special services district. And I guess I would just point out that the funding we're talking about would support those students regardless of placement. So
Right.
there's sometimes very expensive cost even when you have a student in the public school district, perhaps if they need a private duty nurse or a one-to-one aide for their entire instructional time.
So the homeschooling is even reduced based upon the lack of funding for your kids.
Yes,
Homeschool,
or
because of that.
for all
Right.
students who are classified that
Right.
need support.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, Assembly.